And it looks like we are live on YouTube. Welcome everyone to the OpenJS Foundation Standards Working Group meeting. This is our first meeting of August. Last week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, we canceled just due to attendance, but we've got a good group today. And we will start as usual with announcements. Do we have announcements to share? I've got a couple, but I'll let others start. Robin, do you have stuff you want to share?
Let's think. Well, just a couple of things. Well, I think one thing today, the South by Southwest panel picker panels opened, and OpenJS submitted a couple. One is the internet really rotting, and the second one is open source being exploited. So, and particularly the first one, standards definitely will play a great role in that, as well as open source. So if you look at the OpenJS Slack channel, I believe Rachel put in a couple of links. If not, we'll put them in the chat. Let's see what else. We're taking a couple of breaks, I think we have with our program committees and other things for vacations, but we should be picking up in a couple of weeks.
I think we do have a program committee meeting this Thursday, the 12th. Yeah. So
we canceled last one. Yep.
That's right. So if you're interested in getting involved with the with that, and I hope so, because there's going to be a lot of cool work to do coming up soon. We meet on every other Thursday. So this Thursday is the 12th. We'll be meeting, and it's at 11 Eastern. So please join if you're interested in getting involved with the programming for OpenJS World. Cool. Let's see. Other announcements, just as a reminder, the W3C does office hours for members every month. There was the office hours today. I chatted about it in Slack, but next one's coming up in September. If there's ever anything that from an OpenJS perspective you want to raise to that group, it's really just lovely kind of small chat actually about anything and everything related to the W3C. So do feel free to either, come and join, or send me some materials, things you want to hear more about. Happy to share that and spread that along. So there's that. Yeah, I think those are the big kind of announcements that that we have. Oh, book club. That's another thing that will happen between now and the next time we meet. The book club is meeting on August 18th. So that's next Wednesday. If you're interested, we're going to be talking about a couple of books. One is called How to Do Nothing. So that's it's a great title. It's less about how to do nothing, but how to do like intentionally, focus your attention on, things that matter, as opposed to say wasting 5 hours a night on your social media apps, which is something I think we've all done from time to time. And the second book is called Braiding Sweetgrass. And it's about, well, to be honest, I haven't read this one. This is one Mike Champion read, so he's going to tell us more about it. But it's about sort of the cultural and philosophical kind of world of community building and that sort of thing. So excited to have those conversations next week. So please join if you're interested in that. Other announcements? Anybody have any upcoming meetings for standards groups or otherwise you know about? None? Okay, cool. Then hearing that, we'll move on to sort of the next the agenda items. One thing really quick, as I mentioned, there's a couple of pull requests open for minutes, for meeting minutes. Please do take a look at those and review and let me know if there's any edits or changes requested so we can get our minutes folder up to date. So that's good. A little housekeeping there out of the way. Right. Okay. So the agenda that was published in the issue is a bit out of date because I didn't take the discussion or the agenda item label off of requesting 10 minutes to discuss API translation effort. That item is closed unless, Mike, there's anything you wanted to add as an update, but I actually took it off for today.
No, nothing.
Yeah, didn't think so. I thought that was so that's been removed. And then the last or the other agenda item that did make it on today was document delegates and delegate approval process. So this is one that's opened. I think the AI is to me, but to be honest, I don't at this moment remember. And so I'm hoping somebody can remind me so that I can close this issue for us.
Trying to remember where we documented this, and I'm not sure if we did update our documentation on
What I recall was that there was a discussion that we had a few weeks ago as to whether this documentation was like, hey, here's all the people who are in our communities who participate in, different groups, either on behalf of their organizations or just because they're interested as invited experts. So having it be more like inclusive of all that versus whether it's something that's more like restricted to just the people who are like not like officially sort of designated as representatives. And so that I think that was the question that I remember discussing, but not getting to like a clear answer on. Does anybody remember if we did?
Well, it looks like there is a starting document to add representatives. And then the other part was when there is a request for representation, what are the criteria? I don't know if we have an issue on that, but it was like if you could travel on behalf of another organization, you would opt for that. And there were a couple of other criteria. So
also for TC39, we had this mention of invited experts.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had a thought that whether the OpenJS Foundation should be like considered as an invited expert, or would it be a member in itself?
Yeah, there was we did kind of dive into that particular group more specifically to clarify that, for the person to be representing OpenJS, they needed to not be covered by an existing ECMA member company, so as not to sort of double, or what word does Miles use, cannibalize, I guess, ECMA membership. So we wanted to make sure that that person was covered there, and also that their company was okay with their participation, because we can't sign away we can't sign on their behalf in terms of like the IPR and any disclosure policies or anything like that. So there was those two concerns, which I think didn't really, in fact.
I think there was one more too, unless if a project specifically requests that you attend, that would be given a separate consideration.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Update our process documentation.
So did we want to, kind of getting back to the first question, did we want to create a document for us to just sort of like have the community track their general participation, whether they were formally part of the JS Foundation or OpenJS Foundation or not, and just kind of, because it seemed like that was something Miles and Jordan were really interested in.
Yeah, if you see the member representation page that's linked, it's actually sorted by standards entity as opposed to the individual. I think we wanted to organize it by individual. Is what we had decided. So,
okay. All right, well, I'll take another stab at reorganizing this then. And then, I mean, the trick is, of course, we can't stay on top of like what everyone is doing. That's my big concern, right? Is like that then becomes documentation that gets out of date potentially really quickly. On the plus side, most of us get involved in standards and it's like a commitment for life because this thing's forever. But on the minus side, it is kind of requires the person to sort of say, update us and say, hey, I'm not doing this anymore or whatever. So, or my company affiliation changed or, you know, my whatever. So, all right, I'll just say document broadly then. All right. Okie doke. So then that takes us to the other long running topic that we've been covering here, which is our standards ed site. And last time we didn't have an update because we wanted to just get started with a template. And Hemant has gone ahead and queued us up one, and it is in the standards-ed-site repository. I'll just go find. Oh, that's my. I was about to send y'all a link to localhost 8080, and that's not going to work, is it? Let me go get the actual link for you. And so there's not much here just yet, other than all of like the templating. So here's the link in the Zoom chat, and I'll put a link in the doc.
So we have the GitHub pages set up, but looks like it is not able to recognize the nunchuck format, and it doesn't really loading the CSS. So I'm looking into that. And this uses 11t, and I've used like the base template, and we still like need to decide on some of the design aspects. And if someone's like good at design, then we could take their help and enhance it. The other query I had was in terms of the domain name, because we don't have a domain name yet. I've just put a placeholder, and I've put a sample post and an about us page. I haven't filled anything in it, but we can discuss further and add more content to it as we proceed.
So I have it running locally. I'll just share my screen really quick for people to see, just as a, like, not that there's anything super intense here, but yeah. So in the about us, we have an about us page, and we can kind of fill in here. As Hemant said, we could give it a cool name and brand it, you know, and then the homepage is just a list of the posts, and that's very default, I think, for 11t, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? They kind of by default put. Yeah,
it's in our control how we wanted, but I wasn't sure if we would have like multiple things apart from post to start with. But it's totally customizable. For example, web.dev is also an 11t site. So you can have a landing page with all the information, cards and likes, and then we can take them to a blog. And because we didn't get time to discuss more, I just put a bare minimal template to get us started, and we can take it from here.
So I think this brings a good question in my mind, which is like, you know, if we were going to start adding our resources, would we want to add those resources as posts with tags? and just have that sort of be each resource has its own page and what have you. Or were we looking at more of a single static page, like the About Us page, where all of the resources are listed?
Yeah, I would vote for a single static page, something like how these awesome GitHub repos basically have, right? The say, for example, awesome Node.js kind of have categories of resources, and they are just hyperlinks to each of them. And but we do have categories, so if we find a resource in that particular category, we would make sure to add it under that category, and it's all kind of organized in a single static page rather than having multiple posts. That's my vote. I'm not sure what others feel like.
And we had talked about organizing by questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of, I mean, like, because I could kind of see it working both ways, where you have one area that you can go view all by a certain question, and then, another view that's just more exploratory. But, that baby steps, try to get the small thing done first, I suppose, is the goal. But I was also thinking about like it seems like using the tags would be a very helpful thing to do eventually, making use of that. But
particularly if you have the same content and different answers or different questions.
Right. So, but we can start with it just static for now. And that seems fine. Yeah.
Also, we were yet to formalize on what we would name this site, right?
Yeah. I think we said we would do it the JavaScript way and just like not name it until the last second and then call it.
If we can use the graphic design services though from the Linux Foundation. So let's give them a little lead time. Unless we want to.
Awesome. And I would definitely ought to have a landing page to talk about what the vision of this site is all about, and then probably take them to the resources static page.
Yeah. So I think it sounds like the next steps may be for us to just mock a homepage that is not the list of blogs, but the list of questions and resources. And then, I don't know if anybody here fancies themselves a designer, or we could kind of cue this for the design team at LF. And either way, I think we can get them started on it at the very least, and then bring their design ideas back here for feedback, like kind of like what we did with the JSlandia branding. It would help if we had a name to give them, though, I think.
Agreed. I thought we had brainstormed at one point, right?
We did, but we didn't have anything that really stuck for anybody. I think the only thing was that.
What do we want to convey?
Yeah, I think there was something just wanted to be simple and descriptive. Yeah, what do we want to convey? Mike, what do we want to convey?
So I guess, conveying who your audience is and why they should listen to you are the first, I guess, major points. And I think focus, being audience focused instead of saying who we are. I think, like who we are is one blog post, whereas the name should be, kind of bigger than that and focused on the audience. So what is our audience definition?
Probably more people just getting started, right? or wanting to learn more.
Right. I mean, I think if we were going to flip it around and say, who are you instead of who are we? Like the you are a current or aspiring, web developer who is interested in understanding how standardization activities impact their work as a developer, how they can get involved, or even they're taking those first steps. They've joined a group,
Yeah.
but they still feel.
So there's the famous tangled web metaphor, right?
Yes.
And I guess if you're, regardless of whether you're trying to make sense of things or whether you're actually involved in the standards process and trying to clarify things, you're kind of involved in untangling the web. And I think maybe there's fodder for names there.
I like the idea of untangling or demystifying or, ordering.
Let me just try and find the actual. So I guess this is, I think this is a book by Elkamtoff. Was it? Yeah, Michal Zalewski, Elkamtoff. That's why the name probably stuck in my head. And so, trying to keep my security bias separate from my standards bias. This is kind of mixing things, but yeah, what are some words for kind of disentangling or, kind of making sense of like spaghetti, and ordering all the complex, intersections of different things so that you can kind of get a picture of them. Maybe it's time to go to like search for synonyms.
The other thing you just made me think of, Mike, is like to be a bit cheeky, right? And to maybe like, because I was just thinking about NIST, the National Institute of, I forget all the
Standards
acronyms.
and Technology.
Yes, yeah. I was like, what does the ST stand for? Standards. I was just
Standards
thinking about. I was just thinking about NIST and how like they very orderly kind of break everything down. And I was like, what if we had a name that was like NIST? But it was, I don't know, like a
list.
List.
We're wistful.
A whist. Oh yeah. But it's just like, where it's an acronym for organizing this information for education and learning and resources for people. I just thought that might be a little cheeky. We could make it look like I don't know. That's maybe a bridge too far, but yeah, like untangling or
Tangle is what
tangled. Yeah.
my mom would spray on my hair when I was a kid. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Detangling spray. Like for like or WD-40 for loosening,
help things run smoothly.
Health, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need to like write some of this down, and then ask the CPC to help brainstorm too. Like, because, we could list a few things or a few directions and have the CPC say, because I think our problem might be twofold. One is that, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Oh, I was just thinking unknotting is, but none of these are kind of punchy terms.
Yeah, they don't grab the.
Yeah, disentangling is like 3 syllables too many.
Yeah. exactly. So hence it only works if you wrap it into like a ridiculous acronym, which people will forget. So
Mhm.
I
disentangling.
mean, acronyms also work when they evoke a word that itself is punchy or
Right.
you know is a good mnemonic.
Right.
I can't
Yeah.
say mnemonic without sounding drunk, I'm afraid.
Was having trouble with anonymizing earlier. I couldn't say that word. So just
Yeah, don't get me started on judicial system.
information of standards and wise information of standards and WIST. Oh, Hemant gave us a WIST acronym. Yes,
But
like it.
Yeah, I think, you know, like wistful, where the wist is uppercase and the full is lowercase.
I kind of really like the idea of leaning into that, but
you're tapping the wisdom of
yeah,
those.
yeah. But there's also something to be said about like sharing you know, that sharing that wisdom, sharing the sort of what you learn, sharing your experiences, trying to convey that too, that, you know, because I think one of the things we want for this resource is that, unlike asking in some spaces where it can feel very scary, to pipe up and say, I don't understand something or whatever, we want to convey that this is a space where questions are safe. And, you know, if you ask it, people are going to say, oh, I had the exact same question, you know, and here's what I learned. So sort of like there's something about it I think also we want to convey that's like safe.
So wisteria is it's a flowering plant, but it's also a tangly vine.
Mhm.
So that would give us you know, it's got like little purple flowers usually. And that may give us a logo. And, you know, so whist and wisteria may work together.
I love the smell of wisteria.
And it's also, you use it for like portals indoors.
Yeah, for the kind of, I forget, what are those, yeah, not trellises, but when they're, you're right, when they form a half hoop.
I like that idea.
Me too.
It's really pretty too. Standards are pretty. That's another message we need to convey.
Sure.
Agree to disagree.
That's funny. And they smell nice. That's the other thing.
About standards?
Yeah, standards smell nice.
Mhm.
Okay, obviously I'm being goofy. I like this direction. I think this is like kind of I don't know, seems welcoming. It seems like pleasant. Kind of also descriptive if we're like, you know, information of standards and technology, that's what it is. So I kind of liking that. So that's something we can work on. What's that?
Wistopia. I've got
That's good too. I'll write that down. Wistopia, which lends itself to like dystopian, which means, you know, I guess,
ideal.
yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. All right. So I think we all need to keep maybe chewing on acronyms or names that we would like to see, or would I think we could probably get started on on some design work with the design team. They will definitely want more direction from us, but perhaps if we can get them started and they give us something back, and then we can kind of iterate, which worked really well for JavaScript Landia, where we had a lot of different ideas. It was actually very helpful, I think, for that effort. Yeah, and we can go from there. Let's see, anything else on the standards ed site we want to chew on? I'm happy to start adding resources and stuff to a page. Well, and then we can kind of also work in the meetings and async on organizing it. But we'll just take a first pass and put it up and reorder it if we want, or tag it or whatever. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Maybe we just post something in the standard Slack channel asking if folks are participating anywhere to give us a shout, and then we can give them a destination to add themselves to that list we're curating or gathering, not curating, just gathering.
The list of participants or on the standards?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Because that would be nice on the, we start calling it the Wisteria site. Project name Wisteria.
So we want to, okay. I'm sorry. I think I'm not quite following. Are you suggesting that we keep a list of all of those people on the Wisteria site?
Or we link to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to at least have a shout out to them to add themselves to the list in Slack. Or, yeah. Okay, let me make that note. Okay. And then we can, consider at some point in the future bringing them into like the Wisteria site as it, or at least saying like, hey, people, if you want to volunteer to mentor someone or answer questions, like here's a list of people you can reach out to who'd be happy to help or whatever. So that seems good.
I'm fine.
It's their wisdom along.
Cool.
Because the timeline isn't like you can just go do this,
Great.
right? Like for stuff
Anything else then
that's just
on the site?
categorically hard or unmanageable.
Nope. Going
and we
once,
already
going
have work
twice.
to mitigate it, then let's just do that. Like, that's fine.
Okie doke. We'll close it out for now. That's the last agenda item. Let me just do a quick call for any other business or
Databases,
thoughts. I do have one quick reminder. Oh, go ahead.
I have one thing that struck me is going back to OpenJS World, that is in Austin, Texas, in June 7th and 8th. We have the venue at the Marriott for the whole week. We'll probably have some open source projects, having some collaboration summits. So if you're needing a space perhaps for a standards meeting or gathering or summit, reach out to us, and we're just sort of doing an inventory of space and asks and wants now. So.
And that's a great reminder. Also, if we want, as a standards working group, to plan a meetup or meeting there or something, like we should think about that for the standards working group. We tentatively let the TC39 chairs know as well. So maybe we can coordinate a meeting with the TC39 at OpenJS World. That'd be pretty cool. Okay, Mike, I'm loving this.
I know,
Mike.
I'm trying not to have the giggles for people who are watching and not reading the comments from Mike Samuel.
Mike writes, Wisteria, where gardeners of the tangled web meet for tea and cookies, which sounds like the most delightful place. Quite frankly, I want to be there.
Civilized, right?
Yes, it's very civilized. We have many flavors of tea and cookies and biscuits. The other AOB that I had, oh yeah, it's just a reminder that I'm collecting sort of wins and exciting things from the standards, our standards community here at OpenJS for our board. So as those things occur, as like, for example, you get a proposal through an important stage, or there's some call for feedback or anything like that, I'm happy to share that with our board and also with the public through the public channels. Let's help spread good news from our projects and from our maintainer community as it pertains to standards. So keep me informed, and that will work better on an ongoing basis than me at the last minute going, hey, does anybody have any cool news? Meetings tomorrow. I want to make sure we get you celebrated. So just a heads up. Yeah. Any other business? Okie doke. Hearing none, I will close the stream. And